actually cold down here earlier. Now I am not. I guess I get to be close to you.
Yeah.
We get to act like we like each other.
Oh my god.
So I'll move that a little. Wow, I should not have moved that. Noted. Thanks. I was just
not touch.
Okay. It's like I was maybe gonna see comments, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. Hello, everyone who's just joining. I am Rebekah the Ghost Guide. You probably already know me. This is Sorcha. How do you want to introduce yourself in the ways of your affiliation with Hermes? That was the perfect way to introduce yourself.
That is how. Just like a snort and a cackle. Okay. Let's see. In relation to Hermes, I have been actively working with him for almost 2 decades? Going on 2 decades.
Seems right.
As far as knowing who the heck he was, but I know that he's always been a presence in my life, just from but memories here and there, odd happenstances, connections, and then being able to view that from the lens of an adult. In conflation with this, I also have the joy of being an anthropologist and having studied archaeology, especially around the Mediterranean and even into Mesopotamia. Haven't visited there, want to visit there, but I've read a lot of stuff.
Yeah, how many papers have you written about the area at this point? I'm sure you know the exact number, right? Yeah,
I
just
do
got
not.
that on the top of your head.
I know that I once wrote a 50-page paper on a place, on a site in Anatolia called Karahuyuk, which is kind of on the route from where we can see archaeologically that the idea or the entity or the worshipped figure that the Greeks came to know as Hermes, where he moved through. So,
Do you actively work and worship Hermes? It's also part of your research on a scholarly level.
yes.
So that's why I was like, hey, everybody's asking about Hermes. I'm not answering all of those questions.
We will talk about Hermes. Yes.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know my connection to Hermes, it's pretty much Sorcha and I were hanging out, and I'll be real, 3 years ago I was kind of like, what are gods and goddesses? That's cool. And then you were like, yeah, Hermes works with transportation, and I was like, I live in a bus.
Yeah.
So
Works with transportation and guiding spirits. And eloquence.
Right.
And money making.
And the transportation of messages to others, which is very much like social media.
Yes.
So I was like, wow.
Hermes is very much a god of the era.
Yeah. And that's very exciting because, I could be wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like, as far as gods and goddesses, Hermes has been not overlooked in a lot of the pantheon, but when I think of the first time that I learned about Hellenistic gods, I was like, Zeus.
Yeah, exactly.
Hermes was that little flying guy in the Hercules movie, and I was just like, oh, okay.
he was the they made a reference, the flower the flower delivery thing.
Oh.
They made a whole reference with Hermes in that movie. It was great. I can't.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm seeing pictures.
Yeah.
This is another thing. We're on the level where we will share pictures with one another, but that doesn't help if you're trying to figure out specific words that both of us forgot.
Yeah. We both have the memory, but.
P.S. The noises you might hear are my dog. There's a lot of spiritual activity going on in here right now, and these are the noises she makes. So please, nobody be upset. Hello, everybody who just joined. Happy to have you here. I have some general questions that I wanted to ask about Hermes consent, like history and lore, and also like worship versus working with, how that also can work and whatnot. And these are questions that I've been asked over time from all of you as well as folks on my Patreon. So I will ask for like the general questions from you. Please don't think that I'm ignoring you. I just wanted to get to the things that are already, wow, it's like Mira walks away and I'm like, there's no noise here anymore.
Recalibrating.
Yeah. Real quick, if you are wondering what this cake is doing here, that is an offering. I also have the incense burning, which is another offering, and we have a beverage of choice.
Libations.
Yes. There's also, I want to show you. Do I have to keep him here? Okay.
You can move.
Yeah, I got that. I was just like, I wanted to, so this is Speedy the Turtle, who I got as an act of worship.
Yes.
That's how I'm going to phrase how I got that turtle.
It's a very good diplomatic way to phrase that.
It all depends on which deity you're working with on what is morally sound.
Yep.
Okay, so, can we eat the cake? I feel like we're okay to eat the cake.
Yeah, we can eat our cake.
We're our cake. And we'll get into, like, can you eat, like, things that you offer to deities, who and how differently that works, that sort of thing. But first, Mira, I think I'm going to get you a bone. That's Roger playing with ghosts.
Yep, the ghost cats.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. I'm going to get her a bone so that we can all hear you as
Sounds
you talk about everything. So I will
Yes,
be right back.
all the things.
Come, dog.
Cheers, everyone.
Okay. Are we gonna hear just crunching behind the camera?
The
We're gonna hear
crunches.
Okay.
Oh, she's so excited about that bone.
Oh yeah. Well, she thought earlier I was taking her out. I'm like, no. We'll have a walk later. Okay. So, first question: Where does Hermes come from?
Very good question. Okay, so long story short, actually the origins of the deity or the personality of Hermes came from ancient Mesopotamia.
Okay. Which would make sense. The Greeks and then the Romans, they were all up in that area.
Yes, of course, Mesopotamia a bit further east, but
yes. Or eventually all up in that area.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, and there was
all the animals
the
in
cats.
their minds right now.
There was scholarship done in the 40s, and I should have looked at the name of that archaeologist. I'll share it with you so you can share it and share the documents later in case you guys want to look at it. But this whole complex, this whole ideological personality of Hermes, the deity Hermes, began in ancient Mesopotamia, where he was called Ningishzida, which
How's that spelled?
Ningishzid, sometimes two D's, A.
That's impressive, thank you.
You're welcome. Which literally has been translated to the god of the good tree. And he took the form of a rather large serpent that coiled itself around the tree that produced the best fruit. Yes, there are parallels here. As time moved on, the deity Ningishzida began to be more and more anthropomorphized. So So he began to be seen as, a snake coiling around a tree. That was his first iteration. Then a little bit later on, you started seeing the tree with the snake. I think 2 snakes at that point coming out of a deity image back, and that's when it begins to transition to the symbol that we can easily recognize today as the Kirkion or the Caduceus. So the rod with the 2 snakes twining up, that's it. Very much oriented with the symbolism of snakes as far as regeneration, transition, and descent and return from the underworld. So, being that he was the Lord of the Good Tree or the God of the Good Tree, he was also a grain deity. He was a god of fertility, god of grains. He was also considered a solar deity at this point. And he, along with his brother, Tammuz, who was the god of animal husbandry, were said to guard the gates of the heavens. And this comes into, this is important for a little bit later, because Tammuz weds the goddess Inanna Ishtar. And we know the myth of Inanna Ishtar going down to the underworld to talk to her sister Ereshkigal. She gets trapped, and some things happen when she gets untrapped. When she eventually returns to the surface, which is a whole myth in and of itself, she comes home and finds that her husband, Tammuz, is partying. He doesn't care that she's been gone, and she gets really angry, and she makes the threat that she always makes, which is basically zombie apocalypse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has she been threatening that recently?
No, like that's like the earliest threat of zombie apocalypse that we've ever been able to find.
Cool.
I can't remember the exact way that it's phrased, but it was it's something along the lines of I shall tear open the earth and the dead will swarm up and outnumber the living, and there will be crying and horrible things.
Wow. Great.
Yeah.
I look at all this and I'm just like, all the lore that I wasn't taught in school. This is what I needed.
Yes. So she gets really angry, and she intended to send Tammuz, her husband, into the underworld, and intended that he would have to go on this cycle where, he moves to the underworld. Like 1/10 of the population of animals, people, all living things die, and then new resurrection comes forth. Ningishita said, "Hey, wait, whoa, that's a bit much. How about if I take his place, and how about if I and the grains and the plants take the place, and that way." Also we came into this ideological reason for seasons, very similar to the Persephone myths. Within that, Ninkajita begins making this circular descent to the underworld. He begins to make connections with Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld, and begins to, like we know him in the Hellenic pantheon, carry messages back and forth. He was in that aspect still a guide deity. And then when the last real sort of Mesopotamian Akkadian cultural complexes collapsed, the people the diaspora that came out of that region, the leg of them that traveled to the Mediterranean also brought Ningish Zeta, but his names began to change. So that's how he kind of started.
Okay, I love this because many moons ago, not that many, but like a number, I remember before I went to college and actually started to study major world religions, I had this like understanding that religions were X amount of years old. And I love that understanding because it's proof that like these gods and goddesses, these deities that are still relevant today and that we see kind of crop up in different times of history, they were around. Like, you have to wonder where these stories come from because they've been changed and retold so many times. But at one point or another, they all have this really, really old origin story, oftentimes either from the Mesopotamian area or I know there's some even older ones that come from Africa as well. So it's fascinating for me to learn even more about this, where it's not just like Hermes, the Roman god, it's also like the different names through time. And how that has changed in his role and like all that kind of thing. I'm curious, okay, this was a question I thought about. So a lot of folks, especially in the Western world, have an idea of like the snake meaning something bad due to Judeo-Christian understanding. So in the context that you're presenting and the context of many other beliefs all over the world, what does the snake represent?
The snake represents transformation. It represents renewal. It represents really just the cycle of it represents what I've just been talking about with Hermes: birth, life, death, resurrection. You know, and especially and messages. I know in some cultures around the world, you know, if you wanted to send a message out, you would grab a snake, hopefully not get bit if it was venomous, and tell your prayer to the snake and let it go.
Wow. I was just reminded of the Baptist in some parts of the Appalachian Mountains who get bit to see if it's different. I know. But I was just like grabbing a snake and being like, "Don't kill me."
I mean, okay. If you go and you want to grab like a garden snake or a corn snake, you know, any kind of colubrid, you're probably not going to suffer ill effects from that. I mean, they might have, you know, a piece of meat stuck in their teeth, and that might be gross, but
I think too, it's also the way, like, one, I don't think either of us are suggesting do this. No. Especially as most people nowadays do not know what the difference between a garter snake and, like, a corn snake and a copperhead are. But that would be sad, not knowing the difference between a garter snake and a copperhead. It, you know, a lot of us are city dwellers, so I get that. But for anybody who does feel a strange calling to snakes, if you are calm about it and kind, that's how it works. Because you have a snake.
I do. I have a hypopewter corn snake. Right now he's got a weird little, not weird, he's got a different design on top than they normally do. But eventually, as he ages, he's going to be a pure silvery white snake with a gold sheen. His belly scales are going to show rainbow. And then something that I really love, and this isn't like drawn from mythology that I'm aware of at this point, but if he has the right nutrition, then the skin right behind his jaw will turn yellow, like a bright yellow. So I'm like, oh my god, it's like he's swallowing the sun.
I also love how shy he is.
He's so shy.
Yeah.
He's a good boy, though.
Yeah.
He only bit me once, and that was when one of the cats came too close and he got scared.
Also, the cats are so much bigger than him. So
yeah, I mean, I've had him for years. Now he's literally about 3 feet long, but he's still only this big.
3 feet?
Yeah.
He didn't even look that big.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in like a few months, but
But yeah, no, he's from nose tip to fingertip.
Okay, look at it go.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Real quick, if you want to get like a bite and some drink, I'm gonna check in with the comments.
Yes.
What's hanging out in the door frame? Take your pick. We have a number of spirits here.
Yeah.
Rupert usually hangs out over there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Rupert's back, like, at this door, though.
Yeah, that's the door frame you're talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. No, so, yeah, Rupert's over here. Adam, for those of you who know who Adam is chilling out on the couch over here, just kind of amused at the whole thing.
We're using him as someone to talk to, so it looks like we're talking to the camera.
Yes.
Also, I just got from Rupert, he was like, they saw me.
Mutters and Welsh.
Mutters and Welsh. Yeah, so, P.S. for anybody who's hearing the dog chew a bone, that's exactly what she's doing. That was actually a gift from one of you. Thank you for coming to my gift list on Amazon. They were like, she seems nice. Here's some bones. I was like, yes.
That's sweet.
That's how you get me. Like, understand my dog. So, okay. Let's see where we are. P.S. Thanks everybody for being here. Okay. There were other things I was going to talk about. Oh, talking about work and worship. And though I just saw a question that I think is very relevant because people are asking how to know if it's okay to work with a god, may it be Hermes or not, and if there's a calling card or something like that, what does that look like?
Got you. Okay, so I'm supposing that this is also kind of edging toward, the worry about appropriation.
Sure, we can go with that.
Okay.
If that's what you get, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
just wanting to be
it
okay.
seems similar.
Yeah.
So my idea of the way that practice happens these days is a lot more eclectic, just because with my background in anthropology and archaeology, I've been exposed to a lot of different beliefs and practices, and I tend to go for the main theme. What I've found in my own experience as a practitioner is that if a deity or a spirit wants to work with you, it's not necessarily an indication that you need to follow this religious path, or you need to suddenly be inundate yourself with the rest of the pantheon. These calling cards, signs. Yeah.
Like, how do you know if it's him or somebody
else?
Yeah,
happenstances. And you'll begin to recognize an energy that keeps coming and keeps coming, or a sign that keeps coming up, or things just happen a little too easily, or some personality keeps showing through, and the way things happen.
Laughter. It's always like far off laughter.
Yeah.
And it's like the zoom by of like
the drive-bys.
Yeah, it's just like
in both of our experience, Hermes very much has a Doppler effect.
Yep.
Good job, ladies. He does these like little drive-by. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the feeling. Or what we were talking about, mannerisms or something, like picking up on the mental imagery of Hermes.
Yes.
How I was describing it's kind of like this, or like this.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not disinterested, but I'm going to pose.
Yes. It is like what you would find in a magazine or something, of like a man just like, propped up one leg and like that kind of thing of like looking off.
It's the charisma.
Yeah.
God, I just thought of RuPaul. People who will get that reference. Anyway, so I know, because you've mentioned this before, that there have been questions on, how to leave offerings or do worship. So it really depends on what kind of vibes with you. If going and doing your historical archaeological research is what satisfies your soul and feels right to you, by all means draw from those ancient religions. If you want to, just kind of play it by ear, then let your intuition guide you. I know for Hermes, more ancient offerings have been saffron and benzoin, which type of incense. And any can't talk. This is a jokey place. Any kind of rare spices or products or anything like that, and left for him or worn to honor him. Also, because he's associated with boundaries of all kinds, and the transmission across those boundaries, in ancient Greece they would have cairns or piles of stones along the road or at crossroads or marking the boundaries of someone's estate from another or farmland from another, and that was considered a place where the god lived. Now I find it funny that that's also where snakes live. Yep. And eventually there was an evolution over time of those things into what we know as the Herms, which were pillars with, a bust of, Hermes' face. And also, usually, sometimes, almost always, a member of, a part of male genitalia.
I saw something about that. It was a joke. I can't even describe it now. It's one of those things you would have to see, but it was on a history meme site that I follow.
Yes.
And it was just like a guy asking his wife in modern times, being like, hey, I would like to leave this erect piece of sculpture in our garden for protection.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's Hermes.
Yes.
And then the woman being like, excuse me? And this is me. I'd be like, well, if it looks like true art, then yeah.
Then yes. Oh, and that's something too, because not only was he kind of the deity of travel, he was also called upon to protect the home, in conjunction with the Hellenic goddess Hestia. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times in domestic sites, you'll see a statue or a herm of him in conjunction with Hestia. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else was I going to add? So that's more like ancient ways, ancient offerings that I'm aware of. More modern, I have found he really has a sweet tooth.
This is the last piece of my birthday cake. He also got the first piece of my wedding cake.
He did, and he was very proud of that.
We told our whole wedding party, because it was a smaller affair, because we weren't wanting to be safe, but, which we were, by the way.
Yes.
And, no, at the very beginning, I was like, hey, everybody, so you all know, I'm cutting out the first piece for Hermes. None of you have to believe this, but, it's an agreement, so...
Some people had some experiences, too, when they went up to the Widow's Watch.
Yeah, because we put it at the highest point of the house, and, people felt like when they were up there, they weren't alone. Mm-hmm. Somebody tried to remove the cake because they thought that, somebody just left out the day before, and they immediately got, a really awful feeling.
Yep. It was intense for that person.
Yeah.
He really felt the need to go up and apologize.
Yeah, he did.
He was like, excuse you. Now, that being said, at least in modern times, in the way that I practice it, any offering has its own terms and conditions. So if you're asking for something, if you're supplicating for I really want to do well in this interview, Hermes, please gild my tongue, make me eloquent. Then you say you have ice cream that, you get the vibe that, yeah, you would like this ice cream. You can offer it and sacrifice it, quote unquote, in that you leave it at his altar or at a place, where you make your offerings, and you do not touch it. You can also say, hey, I would really like for this, I would really like you to imbue this food with your energy, and then by that way partake of it. And, and that way, it's fine to do. Or, you can even say, hey, this was really good. I really want the last bit of this, but I'm going to give it to you for reasons. Have a great day. It doesn't have to be a big formal affair. From my experience, he doesn't like formality all that much. He can do it. He can do it.
Some gods do like that.
Yes, which is one of the reasons why I really gravitate towards Hermes, is because it is more of a relaxed relationship. I know at one point I did get a ping from Inanna Ishtar. And this was before I knew the whole thing. And this is actually why I found out about the whole Ningishita thing. Because I was like, okay, maybe, but you're really big and stern, and I don't know if I can do that. So I turned to Hermes and I was like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, meh, okay. And I'm like, okay. Well, ooh, look at this pretty pendant. Is it okay if I wear this? Yeah, sure, kid. I get the pendant late because shipping, and wear it for the first time, and suddenly I can't walk straight. I'm tripping over everything. I'm making so many wrong turns in the car. Not dangerously, but like just missing my turn so much and so often. I'm like, all right, what is it? You said this was okay. And it's like, well, yes, that was in the spring, but now it's fall. I'm like, what? so that was the thing that made me go, okay, is there, what is the relationship between Hermes and Inanna Ishtar? Because I really need to figure this out. I'm like, oh, they have history.
So it really depends on who you're worshiping or working with and what their specifications are. And that was one of them. You didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah, didn't realize it at the time. You didn't see fit to share it with me until it was important.
Yeah.
And what we've been talking about is really just material offerings. Something that Hermes really enjoys is simply researching him, sharing information, either about him or about, other practices, which is
talking about him.
Really convenient. Engaging in athletics, engaging in, acts that involve, cleverness and trickery. But I will say, I want to stress very much that, that he's doesn't really like, bad things to happen. So let me rephrase that because I feel like that didn't go well. He's not going to harm someone for the sake of harming them. It's more of like hey, if a lesson needs to be made, or the lesson needs to be learned, then the lesson needs to be learned, It's not because he is in the Hellenic pantheon, a god of thieves. But if you go out and you mug someone, he's going to be pissed because you've hurt someone, you've been brutish about it, you've really messed up. Now, having a confidence game, that might be a little bit more fun for him. But
yeah. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about you talking about one, I'm going to back up. the personality of who you're working with matters.
Yes.
I learned that firsthand when I started to make offerings, also out of desperation, because the bus was kind of working, kind of not, and we were in the middle of the mountains. And we went to my favorite chocolate shop, and I got a thing especially for him, and I like told everybody that I was with at the time, I was like, do not touch this thing. We were lighting a candle next to it later, like, we're putting out wine, like we need to get down the mountain and get gas. So we did all the things, and we're just like, please, sir, please. We get all the way down the mountain. We get down further off the mountain. Like, the amount of gas in the tank that didn't make any sense. Like, it was truly a miracle. But here's the thing. We finally got to a place where we could pull in for gas. And, Jay's just, like, lightly revving the bus in order to get there. The bus completely stops about 10 feet away from the gas tank. Now, here's the thing. We safely got there. Mm-hmm. That was clear enough. We had to kind of do a wraparound thing in order to get gas into the tank. We did also block the automotive shop that was at that gas station. So here's the thing. We got there, and of course, like, we're breathing and stuff, and then once again, it was like the laughter in the back of my head of like, you're welcome.
Exactly.
So once again, like, with Hermes being more graceful with how offerings are made, and I guess being able to mess up, and forgiving sounds like too easy a word, but understanding. Yeah, there's a side to that. It's because if one is to work with him, you also have to be understanding.
Yeah.
He gets his kicks too.
He does. And once you kind of keyed into his energy, and you can kind of tell when something's going on, it's like, all right, show me where you want me to go. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Mm-hmm. I'm here for the ride. Gosh darn it, I'm gonna be late. But I love you, so I'm gonna do this.
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh goodness, there were other things I was gonna ask.
He also works a lot through dreams.
That was what I was gonna say, because you were talking about he doesn't actively try to hurt anyone.
Right.
I think about, and I don't want to get too personal, but just to say that you do have lucid dreaming, and you're very talented at that. There was training involved, and we don't have to go into all of it, but
yeah, we can go into that another time. Maybe we can make that like a topic or something, or maybe I'll finally do some TikTok somethings.
You should. But you don't have to.
I want to. I'm just really bad at following through with art.
I mean, sometimes just like putting up a video is just like all you need for people to be like, oh, you exist.
That's fair. But yes, so he, even in the Hellenic mythology, he brought messages through dreams, which kind of gets him into, the realm of the subconscious and thought and everything. My experience with that was when I was little, I had a lot of nightmares. And these weren't just nightmares, these were, lucid dreaming events where I could, sense and interact with everything. And I didn't realize it at the time, and that's one of the things that I was talking about with being able to look back at events with the lens of adulthood. Mm-hmm. It very much was like a rigorous training course on how to do metaphysics. There's a whole thing about the Onerai, and we'll go into that at some point. Yeah. So if you work with him, be aware the Onerai are not far behind.
Mm-hmm. I would also say, when you talk about training ground and like metaphysics and that kind of thing, it almost seems to me like that was a catch up of like, hey, you have worked with this deity before in the past, prior to this life.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, all right, here's some things you've learned. Like,
yeah.
here you go. Like,
yeah, it's like, let me remind you.
Yeah.
And, you know, those instances were scary, you know, but I definitely feel grateful for them now. You know, I definitely do.
So other thing working with Hermes, because I know we have a lot of fans of ghosts here.
Yes.
If you follow me, I imagine you are. How, like, okay, let's say somebody's in their house and either they want to make communication with the spirit that they feel is there, or they're feeling kind of terrorized by the spirit that is there. Could they work with Hermes, and how so?
Absolutely. So if you sense a spirit and you're wanting to open up communication with that spirit, you can ask Hermes to come and kind of give that spirit some more juice. Even
we've had experience with that.
Yeah. Also, you know, I've seen him, because he did this with Adam. I've seen him take a spirit off to give them the ABCs of ghosting.
Which you're gonna get questions about Adam and the ABCs of ghosting. Just saying, finish what you're saying,
okay.
But that's fine. I know it.
You know, where you kind of like take on me, like, hey man, so yeah, you're dead. These are some things you can do. Don't be a dick.
Good rules.
Yeah.
You can go through things.
Yes.
Don't be a dick.
Yep. And you know, so he can kind of help give a primer to that spirit on how to project. You know, like we in sort of mediumship practices do, how to project so that others can pick up on what you're trying to convey. And you know, if you ask, he can help open up those senses, those clairsenses for you too. You know, what was it? I read something a while back that that said that he was one of the primary, and I use this word in modern sense, and primary shamanic entities in the Hellenic pantheon. So that in between and everything, and kind of the guidance and the teacher aspect.
Yeah,
you know. And in regards to if there's a spirit that you feel like you're being terrorized by, heck yes, you can call on him. When I was first, you know, getting, you know, my practice in and building my confidence, I came across things that I couldn't handle at that point. And I was like, help!
Yep.
And then, like that Doppler effect, it's like, meow. Oh. I'm surprised nothing flew off of that thing, whatever it was, as it was being carried off. Woo!
In regards to you talking about kind of that extra of sentience to spirits.
Yes.
It has been hinted to me before that Rupert was very much residual and not so much in his head, and I've talked about this on my channel a number of times. It has been casually hinted by Hermes a number of times, usually when I'm at the gym, of like, he's a nice one, isn't he? You like him, don't you? And I'm like, uh-huh. And he's just like, I picked a good one, didn't I? And I'm like, ah! It was pretty much it one day. He's just like, knowledge. And I was like, ah! Yeah, and then that was it. I was just like, goodbye.
I'm going to need to process this. We'll talk when you're done.
It was just, it was a small lead up, and then I was just like, yeah, you like him. There you go. Like, I was like,
pebble, 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 boulder.
Yeah. It's like, cool, great, glad that worked out.
Yeah.
So good.
But yeah, I would definitely categorize him as a primarily benevolent deity. You know, when he's taken action that has been kind of a viewed as a negative, It was either in the role of the trickster, so where powers needed to be toppled for change to happen, or it was at the behest of Zeus.
Well,
Yeah, and God, Hermes will fight for you. Like, oh. There was one time, I was crafting, and I was meditating on the myth of Zeus, Io, Hera, Argus, and Hermes. And so basically what happens, Zeus is doing his thing, fooling around with Io. Hera gets mad, turns her into a cow, gives her to Argus, who some could say had like 100 eyes, but I just like to think that he's very aware. And Zeus said, "Hey, yo, kind of want that cow back." And Hermes said, "Aye, father." Went off, put Argus to sleep, and slew him. And I was like, that was clever, putting him to sleep. I really kind of liked that. And I kind of exulted in that for a minute. And then something happened that should not have happened. Physics-wise, freak accident, I was working with jewelry metal glue. The glue started coming out of the tube way too fast. I had a paper towel and I rolled it forward onto this paper towel. The paper towel flicked it up into my eye. I, of course, writhe and scream on the ground. My husband has the wherewithal to, force my eye open and douse me with saline solution. We get to the hospital, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, ugh, because of course I've made the connection. I mean, you can't not. And I'm laying there, and I'm just trying to make myself, small in the ether, and, not anger Hera any further. And and all of a sudden, I feel, boom, him right beside me, just completely livid. Takes one look at me, I feel him nod, and then he's gone. And the energy that I felt reverberate through when he left, I was like, oh, where'd you go, man? Oh no, you're mad. Oh no. Please don't tell me some shit's gonna start. Oh God. And I got the sense that there were some words. but I couldn't do anything with Hera. I actually, to kind of make it up to her, I stopped wearing peacock printed things, or gathering peacock feathers, because it's her symbol, also the eye thing. I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to. Thanks.
yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question that I've thought about in and out throughout the conversation. That I want to go back to Adam and how Adam as a spirit works with Hermes, because I think that'd be interesting for perspective, depending on how much he can share.
Okay.
But first, because I've gotten this question before of a lot of women or effeminate people who are looking to grow in the divine feminine. And so when I've talked about Hermes before, there's some people who are like, yeah, I would like to work with a deity that is more in line with the divine feminine, or like a feminist.
Okay.
What would you say to that concerning Hermes?
Hell yeah, he's a feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said he was in support of accountants.
Yes, he's in support of accountants. Accountants of all nature.
Yes.
He, in his aspect of a god of fertility and of sex, and also, doing things with your own self, is very much a sex positive gender positive or agender positive being. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know there are Hellenistic gods who are very masculine and very much, like I think of Apollo,
right.
or Zeus.
Right.
And that's not to say that Hermes can't appear masculine or what have you.
He appears however he wants.
Yeah. It's more of, I think it's the vibe. I think as a feminist, the best thing you want from a man is support, like you just want to be seen and to be treated like an equal. I mean, that's the point of feminism. So in my work with Hermes, I feel more uplifted. I never feel like, oh, I'm working with a man or I'm working for a man or something like that.
No.
Which is nothing wrong to work for or with a man, by the way. I'm just saying, for those who...
There's not the pressure of patriarchal expectations.
Perfect.
It's not an expectation for you to, be submissive or anything. Actually, I've had moments where I've been like, and he's like, get yourself up off the ground, honey. I'm like, okay. He goes, no, we're not doing this. Get up. You need to walk. You need to run. Get some water.
It's like, it's Bones Day.
Yeah, it's Bones Day. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of bones, divination with Hermes was the knuckle bones.
Oh.
Yeah, so the sheep bones, and they had the dice, and you roll them, and different answers mean different things.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I used to do it. I did it early on, but it's been years since I've actually practiced it, so I've forgotten what all of the things mean because I didn't need it anymore to communicate with them.
Yeah, but it's like, you tend to just communicate straightforward.
Yep. It's like, hey.
Take that bite. I'm going to check in with the comments. And
yes.
then I'm going to bring us back to how does Adam work with Hermes? Oh, thanks for all the birthday wishes. Thanks, everybody. Somebody was like, in support of accountants and feminists. I knew it.
He is a very progressive deity.
Somebody said the vibe that I get from Hermes is very he, they. Which, I could see that.
Yes, but support of.
Yes. Let's see. So Hermes given that supportive big bro energy. Mm-hmm. But the one that will also have a good joke on top of you later.
Yes. God, the TikTok sound that I think of most often with him is the one that's like, hey, take my hand. What happens now? And now we wait. Okay, go!
Yeah,
go!
yeah.
Keep holding my hand! Keep holding my hand! Like, that's how it feels sometimes to work with him. Like, you're good, you have your breather, and then suddenly things start happening. Boom, 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 boom. You're like, this is crazy!
Yeah, that sounds correct.
God of adventure, I like to call him.
I would say that was kind of like my spiritual journey, which is different from yours, because I, was... Part of my spiritual journey was to be led in a direction that had to have me come back to myself.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know this now, though it sucked at the time. I had to know what it was like to feel subservient to a God that probably didn't care about me. I had to understand a number of things on why I shut down my abilities so that I could understand how to reopen them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was through meditative practices, mental health practices. And it was also more recently, I came to this kind of understanding with myself that I had been working so hard to be there for myself and to be strong on my own accord, that even the idea of working with a higher power really bothered me, because I was just like, no, I don't want to bother them. 2, why would they care? But 3, I was just like, there was that part of me that just didn't want to feel like I was letting go of myself.
Yeah.
So go figure, when I came to terms with that, I was like, oh, that's why I feel that way. And then I was like, hey, Hermes, help?
Yeah. He was like, yes.
Child. Yeah.
You're mine now.
Yeah. Okay, sir. But my abilities have grown. And here's the thing, that's my story. The reason why you won't find me typically talking about my beliefs and who I work with is because it is so much more important that you find your own journey, figure out what works for you, find out what doesn't work for you. I found out what did not work for me, and then I moved forward.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to... Here's something that I want to put forward. Mm-hmm. Talking about Hermes as a god of boundaries and transgressing those boundaries. Don't be afraid to put up a boundary with a deity. Full stop.
I think that's good.
Because it should not feel like you're being taken advantage of. There's also something that can occur if you fall into that sort of relationship with a spirit, called scrupulosity, where you begin to believe, because you've been psychologically conditioned by events and stuff in your life, you begin to believe that if you don't perform the thing, then they're going to be mad at you and bad things are going to happen.
I think about deities, they're full on their own.
Yes.
It's kind of like if you're going to enter into a relationship with somebody, you should be your full self and, like to be with the person, but otherwise understand that you are entirely you on your own. And deities, they've had thousands of years to recognize this about them.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be like a guilt trip. It's either, hey, you did the thing or you didn't. Mm-hmm. So if you did the thing, cool, we can work together. But if you didn't, well, that was your choice.
Yeah.
And, this can only continue so far until you do the thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. And the thing can change, by the way. Whatever that is.
The thing can be Skittles one day and M&M's the next.
Yes. Yeah. I know for me, working with Hermes, part of the way that I learned to trust myself was in going to the gym, I would not make a set plan for what I was going to do that day. Mm-hmm. Like, was I on the rowing machine? Was I on the elliptical? And I would just go out blind onto the floor and be like, where am I being led? And I would trust my intuition. Basically, I would make a call to Hermes and I'd be like, hi, I'd like to work with you to better my physical body, to be a better channel, but also like to connect with you, but also, I would like to offer my energy.
Yes.
Not like he needs it, but that's the exchange. And I would just go out there. I remember one time I went out there and I just felt like a turn or like left, and then I would go down the line of machines and he'd be like, that one. And I would look at it, and a number of times it was the only machine with the TV that was off. And I didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
Or it was either that or it was the only machine with the TV on Animal Planet and it was always playing Crocodile Hunter.
Yes.
See, like, perfect.
Yes.
And that was also the first time that I ran since I had surgery. This was 10 years ago. Was during one of those experiences. Mm-hmm. Because I did not want to hurt my knees. And for the longest time, I just did not run. So that was one of the things I kept going back and back, and I was like, are we turning yet? Are we turning? No, stop questioning me. No. Like,
that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. Don't keep asking the same question.
Yeah.
Especially when he's answered you. It's very much an asked and answered sort of a deal.
Which is good for me, because I have a tendency to do that.
And don't, whatever you do, act like you did not hear him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine to say, I hear you, and I think I'm going to do it this way because that is my own choice, that is my own decision. He's like, you know what? Go for it, hun. So you're going to have some fallout, but you know what? I'm here too.
There is that second line of like, you can do what you want. That's entirely fine. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen if you do. But, like, I had that happen before.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God. But
it's like, if that's what you want to do, yeah. Moral of the story, I did actually run. I actually ran a little over a mile in, something like 15 minutes or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I felt great. Like, nothing popped, and I felt fine. And I just, went to the locker room and was like, I did a thing. So, okay, back to Adam.
Yes.
I feel like me?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. So, on a spiritual basis, and I'm gonna ask that you translate for him.
Yes.
How do you work with Hermes? Like, what does that look like? Like similarities and differences from how we in corporeal form would do that.
So he's bringing up how he helps spirits try to reconstitute themselves. So something that he became very, very passionate about was helping spirits to come out of the fugue, or to regain memories, and that's, that is something that is very Hermes. It's what was it, the road inside your mind. As oh god,
Hadestown.
Yeah, Hadestown.
Go watch Hadestown. It's a great
Go watch
musical.
Hadestown.
Or listen to it, because
but it's very much one of his purviews, and that's the way that Adam really works, as, I guess you could say, as an agent, as an agent of Hermes, or as, a devotee of Hermes. Is he goes and he'll walk around Wilmington, and he'll look for things that need to be settled. He'll look for spirits that are lost, and he'll work to bring them to a level of sentience where they can begin moving on their own. And I don't mean moving on, but I don't mean moving on as in moving into the afterlife of their belief. I mean that so that they can regain their will, their self-propulsion, and continue on in whatever form they desire. Something that he also specializes in is teaching spirits how to keep themselves energetically sustained, instead of trying to leech on a living creature. How to pull that energy from other sources, so that there isn't that parasitic relationship.
Yeah. Some people have described if they feel a ghost around, they feel so drained afterwards. It's because it's almost like if an extrovert is taking a bunch of energy off of other people, rather than being able to pull the energy up from somewhere, or pull it from themselves.
Yes.
Like, it's not saying you can't hang out with people, it's just where you get your energy from. Some people would call it grounding.
Yes.
Spirits can ground as well.
Yes.
What was I going to say? A lot of you were like, whoa, in previous videos, a lot of you have been like, Jimothy gets around. I'm like, yeah, he absolutely gets around.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yes. And he goes, yes, the travel. So another thing that Adam teaches, and something that we worked out together, because that's really been the crux of our relationship. He came out of his fugue one night. We met. Hermes was like, hey, you're gonna learn from each other, and you're gonna be a better medium, and you're gonna have fun learning how to be a ghost.
And her Adam, like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Pardon.
Say what? But he really wanted to, go other places. And as I would take him around with me, he would find certain places interesting that he would want to return to. So we worked out how to create anchors.
Yes.
Or
I'm gonna close those blinds because they're in your face.
Yeah, I've been trying to.
Yeah, and like you looked glowing, and I was just like, but it's painful. So.
Yeah, it is painful. That's better. Okay, sunspots.
Say something next time, because I was just like, wow, the sun's really bright over there. I wonder why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We worked out how he could create anchors, or basically energetic signatures that he could pop to from anywhere, anywhere nearby, or as time progressed, not nearby.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, so he has taken it upon himself to teach other spirits how to travel in that way. So, but like I said, we call it dropping an anchor, and then he's able to be like, aha, follow that line wherever he wants to go. And that took a lot of practice for him. There were a lot of very frustrated evenings where he was trying to make it to the beach, got turned around, and then had to find his way back. Mm-hmm. So we worked out a system for him, and he started teaching that to anyone else who seems responsible.
Yeah. And I would say he's a very good teacher.
He's a very good teacher, yes.
Because Jimothy picked up on it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would follow us around and that sort of thing, but I noticed especially after we got back and we started communicating more, Jimothy was all over the place. Like, you could not keep him in one place.
Yep.
I'm curious, and think back in the time before Jimothy was following us.
Yes.
Because Jimothy initially came to you, and he was like, hey, pretty girl who talked about pie.
Yeah. I want to travel with her. I heard you said.
Yeah. Like, did he follow your energetic signature, or was he like, hey, Adam, take me to the lady who knows that woman?
He said, hey, Adam, take me to the lady who knows that woman.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because, Adam can escort spirits around.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jimothy's done that too now.
Yep.
He did that with Rupert.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Oh my God, the fort. Hell. But yeah, he can escort spirits around, and there are times when he'll be like, hey, I found this. Shall we help it?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, we shall.
It was interesting too. This was before I was aware of how much Rupert was following me. And granted, I'll say this. It was a combined effort that I was not fully aware of. It was one of those things that I, wanted, but, I wasn't like, hey, dude, this is fine, you know? And it was kind of like a short circuit sort of thing, because he would, kind of blip in and then kind of back out. Fortunately, his anchor was at the Bergen Wright house, so, I could always be like, okay, I'll go find you there later. Mm-hmm. But I made a video about this where I played Sorcha. Mm-hmm. Where, we were at your apartment one day, or your condo, and you mentioned, Adam being like, there's a Welsh man here. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I was just like, excuse me.
And that was before I knew that he was Welsh.
Oh, you didn't know that?
It was, yeah, because it was earlier, right?
Okay, so in the lore, it was mentioned in my first video, but that would have been months before.
Okay.
And we hadn't talked about it since.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about it. I remember.
I don't know if Adam would have seen that either.
Yeah, I remember there being confusion of, why is there a Welshman here?
Sorry. Yeah, it was funny. I'm not going to say her name, but you know who I'm talking about in our chat.
Yeah.
Who, what was it? The first time I met her through a video call, which was a consultation at the time, which really, I did not consult her at all. We just had a conversation. I was like, okay. But she was like, yeah, I see him. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh. Because she was polite. She was just like, okay. I thought I saw him, literally right there. And I was like, no, he's not there. He's not there. Right?
Oh, God. Touch. You're here.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't even, working on my clairsentience so much at that time. So I was just, I was still growing so much. I was like, wait, you can talk about somebody and basically call them to you because you match with their energetic signature and basically go, whoop.
Yeah.
Didn't know that at the time.
In the words of Albert Einstein talking about quantum particles and quantum physics, spooky actions at a distance.
I love that. I'm going to check in with the comments. How are you doing? Is there something in the hallway above the door? Yes. You've been spotted.
I feel an eye roll.
Yeah, he was just, but there was also do I leave? No. I think all of you should be very happy that he wanted to present himself.
This man is full of sass.
Oh, goodness. The secret sass that has not yet to come out on my TikTok announcements.
And
did he glitch the feed? Yeah, well, Jimothy has a tendency to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He just gets so excited, he glitches the internet. Let's see. The pretty girl who talked about pie. Yes, that is me. Yeah, so a number of people had theirs freeze. Cool. Well, I'll be posting this on YouTube later, so hopefully the freezes will be figured out. So we're over the hour. Is there any last things? Any last things you feel led to say? Shit.
Let me tune
Why
in.
did I just get like a don't mess up?
Yeah, because he does that to me. And then he'll make it difficult for me to speak, but it's fun. Totally fun. I'm totally fine with making a fool of myself on the internet.
Rupert finds this interesting.
I
I
know.
was like, finally.
Yeah, no. You might hear more about the rivalry there. Let's see. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid that we don't care.
Wow. That hit. It's like what I was talking about.
Yeah. It's very much a sense of, we want to help you. We want to be involved, but we need permission to enter into, your lives in a full way.
It's a consensual transaction.
Yes, it is. It's oh my gosh,
Both
okay,
parties.
that's something too. Consensual contracts. Huge thing with Hermes. I can't stress that enough. He is very, very, very much an advocate of consent, both in the physical and, physical to metaphysical and sheer metaphysics. That's one of his main tenets that I've been able to put my finger on over the past, almost 2 decades.
Goodness. No, I'm going to talk to you about a subject of something that recently came to mind on TikTok. I don't know if I'm going to make a video or anything about it. The reason why I'm bringing it up is if you're ever curious about the in-between, especially concerning spiritual affairs, look at the lore of Hermes. Look at experiences of Hermes. There is some... Here's what I'll say. We all can coexist and have different beliefs, and that's important. We should.
Yes.
We should all have... even though both of us like to work with Hermes, how we do it should be personalized.
Yes.
Just like our beliefs should be personalized. If anybody's watching this and they're just like, I don't believe any of this, but I find it interesting. Thank you.
Cool.
I would love to know what you believe. I love asking that question of people. The reason why I bring this up is, one, the afterlife should not be something that should be something you're afraid of.
No.
If you have fear of it, please see a mental health professional about it. That's important. You can find your spirituality, though that spirituality is right in line with mental health. Okay, so anyone who's afraid of the what if factor, you can find peace within yourself. You can find peace within the understanding of the unknown and just embracing that. That being said, I would encourage everybody, just from the video that I watched, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to give it any more information or juju than it already has.
I know what you're talking about.
We'll talk. With that being said, with the afterlife not having to be scary, you can take steps right now to help yourself to not live in fear. understand, though, it's better to do it while you're in this skin suit. If you are aware and you have the chance and the opportunity to take your mental health into your own hands and take your own spiritual health into that understanding, please do it. There are ways to look into this online. There's sliding scales and counselors. There's a lot of different options. Don't count yourself short. You never know all the things that you can open up and fix, both in this life and karmically, if you just try.
Yes.
So please look into that. And hey, thanks for watching this. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you, Hermes, for being here and existing and being a part of our lives and enjoying the cake.
Yes.
And the libations and thank you
smoke.
for the turtle. Yes. This will all be on my YouTube later, and I'll look up some links for like what you mentioned, the cardiologist, that sort of thing. I may also look up a few links for counselors and people to look into. I might also leave some links to literature that you can read.
Yes.
It's important. Find your own truth, whatever that may be.
And there's also, I've noticed, there are also psychology and mental health texts that specifically use the myths of Hermes and the energy, the personality of Hermes to talk about putting yourself back together.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've been thinking about grabbing it for myself, but I haven't made that purchase yet. But I've seen them and they look phenomenal.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks again for watching, and yeah, I hope all of you take care. It's a hard time right now. We're in the winter months, but it's going to be ending before we know it. So I hope everybody's checking in with themselves. I know I'm working to check in with myself, and I will see you soon. I think as soon as tomorrow. Check my live events, okay? All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Vera.